Before we start our podcast, I would like to acknowledge and pay respect to the Indigenous keepers of the traditional and unceded lands upon which the Inspiration Station podcast is produced. The Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Katzie, Coquitlam, and Tawasin nations, whose ancient relationships with their land continue to this day. Always was, and always will be, Indigenous land. Hello, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 4 of the Inspiration Station podcast, brought to you by the Charles Chang Institute for Entrepreneurship at Simon Fraser University. I am your host, Carson Keller, and I am excited for you to meet the co-founding team of Moment Energy. Without further ado, let's go! Hello, everybody. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 4 of the Inspiration Station podcast. My name is Carson, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you are probably wondering, why do you have an entire classroom with you right now? I will not lie, I've never interviewed this many people at once in my entire life, so who knows how this is going to go, but I'm very excited for it. I have the team of Moment Energy here today. Say hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much for being here with us. Now, typically, I go through and I read a little bio of our guests right at the top of the episode, but since there's 4 of us, I thought it would be fun if we went in a little circle and did a little quick pitch of ourselves, like 30 seconds, introduce yourself, little fun fact, just to let our audience know who we are, and then we'll dive into what Moment is and the entire beautiful journey that you guys have been on. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Yeah? Let's do it. So we'll start across from me. You know the deal.
I'm Gurmesh Sidhu. I'm the Chief Product Officer and one of the 4 co-founders of Moment Energy, the fellow co-founders alongside me. What I do within Moment is I lead the sales and business development team, and I've actually closed some pretty exciting contracts alongside my team, including some with YVR and Hydro Ottawa.
Nice.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Samreen. I'm also one of the 4 co-founders and COO at Moment Energy. So in my role, I manage our supply chain department. I specifically work with automotive companies to make sure that they have a circular economy plan for their batteries, and that we can help them with repurposing them.
Awesome. I'm Eddie. I'm also one of the 4 co-founders at Moment Energy, as well as the CEO. My job is to make sure that the entire team has the resources required to continue scaling, growing fast, and making lifelong impact to ensure that all humans have access to clean and reliable energy.
My name is Gabe. I'm the CTO and one of the 4 aforementioned co-founders on the team. I lead the engineering team and then technology development, so I'm responsible for all the guts and the insides of our product on a technical level. Fun fact about me, I tore my ACL 4 years ago.
Oh, no.
I like how we all skip the fun facts.
Hey, but you know what? The fun fact is that we're all here, and there's 4 of you. And actually, you know what? I'm going to say what the fun fact is I managed to get all 4 co-founders sitting down with me at the exact same time.
Yeah,
that is fun.
Yeah.
The team will be jealous.
So before we dive into the episode and the journey that you guys have been on, Moment Energy, our listeners have no idea what Moment Energy is. So would someone like to take a minute to just explain what Moment is and what the purpose of this venture is?
I feel like Gabe does it the least in the day-to-day.
Oh, yeah.
Oh!
Yeah, we pitch daily.
That's true, yeah.
That's why we put him over there.
Yeah. I'm on the side. I'm on the interviewing side.
It's actually your interview.
Fun fact, this is your job
This is my
interview.
job. Awesome. So, yeah, Moment Energy is comprised of almost 40 individuals now, which is really exciting. What we do is we repurpose Second Life EV batteries into sustainable energy storage. So basically what we do is we work directly with automakers and car companies to get batteries back from their cars or other vehicles at the end of life and make sure that they don't get wasted, don't get prematurely recycled, and we can actually make use of all the energy that's left in those cars. What we found is that there's still an average of 80% of life left in these vehicles, which is super awesome. And we can actually repurpose them for entirely different use cases, such as supporting EV charging, helping people off-grid to reduce diesel usage, store solar energy, or even help with peak shaving in different commercial industrial sectors. So lots of different options out there, but essentially what we're trying to do is give these batteries a new life and a new application.
Wow, sounds like it. Lots of different opportunities out there, especially in your industry. Because I honestly, right now, I don't know many other companies that are doing sort of what you're doing, like the renewable energy, is something that's very new right now, and there's a lot of research still being done, and Moment is definitely spearheading a lot of that research. So congratulations on, well, you have this huge warehouse that I just saw a few minutes ago, and it's so impressive. There's so much going on in there, and I'm taken aback. So wonderful work. Congratulations, you guys. This is just incredible. However, Moment Energy did not start off the way it is right now. Yeah. So at the very, very beginning, when Moment first formed, it was something that was a lot of a different venture, and there was a major pivot that happened to arrive at where we are right now. Back, I don't know what year this was. I don't know, because I've only been here for a few months. But what was initially the mission of Moment before it became what it is, and how did that even become?
Yeah, I can tell you guys a bit about our story. So we started off, the four of us, we met in our engineering program at SFU in Mechatronic Systems Engineering. We're in the same friend group, we pretty much in every single class together. So it was nice. It was a close-knit program, all based in the Surrey campus. And then we all kind of dwelled into entrepreneurship, or fell into entrepreneurship in a way, through some of the courses offered by the school. And we decided that we didn't just want to be engineers at the end of our degree, that we wanted to be entrepreneurs. So the four of us had worked on a variety of different things together in university, so not just school projects, but we also started a electric race vehicle team together called SFU Team Phantom. It's still around, so a little bit of a plug for them. Yeah, they're building an electric race vehicle from scratch to compete in SAE competitions.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, super cool team, very niche actually at the university, so it's a great way for students to like build their design skills and have a hands-on application, and that's exactly what it was for us. We were working directly with electric vehicle batteries and the EV itself, but that was kind of when we learned about batteries and what can be done with them. We came across a challenge in Hong Kong on basically asking students what ideas they have for batteries that are retiring from cars. So this was in 2016 and 2017, around that time frame, that we had started Team Phantom. But weirdly enough, we didn't start our first venture around the EV space or clean tech. We actually started a company called Moment Meditate, where we were designing this brain-stimulating headband that could help people cope with feelings of anxiety through assisted meditation. So that was what we did in our capstone project.
Very different.
Yes, very different. We did our whole Tech E project based off of that. All in 2019. We finished our engineering degrees, and then we carried on with that into
with the band.
Yes, with the headband into e-co-op. So that took us through the entire year of 2019 before we pivoted into what we're doing now, which is Moment Energy.
When did your pivot take place?
So that was December of 2019. So really in the new year, 2020, is when we started what we're doing now.
Wow. So what I'm gathering here is, through your journey at SFU is when you were really working on the Moment Meditate.
Yeah.
And then after you finished up your degree and you're out in the world trying to figure things out, is when you stumbled into this area of opportunity to start working with electric vehicle batteries. What was that big discovery, and how did that even come about onto your plate?
So essentially in December 2019, we kind of discovered that the technology we were working with, the path to commercialization, was like very long. It was around 8 to 10 years, FDA trials, stuff like that.
Right.
And none of us on our team were neuroscientists. And we kind of said, okay, maybe let's take a step back and let's shift over. So we all knew that we worked amazing together as a team. Through Interconnection, we actually did a bunch of personality tests and etc., showing that, we were all very collaborative and able to work together very well. And so what we decided was, let's brainstorm. Let's go to the drawing board and let's pick kind of what worked out. And then, I think second week into brainstorming, an idea came to my head that was like, we applied for this competition that Samir mentioned in Hong Kong. Why don't we see where this industry's at? And what I saw is that there were a series of companies that have attempted Second Life in the past. But there were a few key points. Some of them attempted in 2010, when the first Nissan Leaf and the first Tesla were just coming out. Some of them attempted it on a one-project basis and weren't really willing to push forward. And, a few of the other companies which kind of incumbents in the industry at a similar startup point to where we would be. So what I did is I took this idea, presented it to the team, and everyone was on board with it. We all kind of said, wow, this is a huge problem. Batteries are needed in order to adopt renewables on the grid due to characteristics of solar and wind and them not always being present. And we all decided, let's push with this forward. The only issue is the market we were pushing into in January of 2020 was the event space. And we all know what happened to that 3 months ago at the start of COVID. So very, very interesting time for us, for sure.
So when you were navigating through the pandemic, did Moment, well, so clearly it survived.
Yeah.
were there any moments were there any moments during that period of time that you were like, oh my goodness, I don't know if we're going to make it?
I think we were early enough where we didn't feel that way. I think it was pretty interesting where we were building out of Smarine's garage, half of Smarine's garage, where, you know, we bought a Nissan Leaf pack, disassembled it ourselves, and then like we were all trying to navigate COVID, and we all had masks on, we weren't sure, staggering our work as well so that we wouldn't, like, so we were following guidelines and everything.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, if anything, actually starting the company during the pandemic helped us a lot. It helped with funding and getting a lot of the idea off the ground, all the way to, you know, scaling, pushing us further, and then us driving 24 hours across the country to Winnipeg for our first sale. And
it was in that first year as well.
Yeah.
Really, was it?
Yeah, in like a rented Hertz vehicle, and that was the year that they were going under. So I think we got a good deal or something like that.
For a lot of our audience, they're probably shocked by hearing all of this, because you moved so quickly and you were able to create this company from what was a meditation service now into renewable energy, and they're such different areas.
Yeah.
And for our audience who might be wondering what the success factor was and how it took off so quickly and became so successful, how did that even happen?
I think it comes down to timing, opportunity, and skill set. What we felt with our earlier venture was that as 4 engineers with our EV experience coming from mechatronics engineering, that it wasn't, we weren't optimizing our skills for the business that we were starting. So there was a little bit of a slower momentum based off that. I think there was skills that we were lacking in terms of being in the medical space, having psychology backgrounds. There's so many different things that go into a health tech startup. Whereas with the EV space, we had experience with that electric-based race vehicle team, Team Phantom. Gabe worked at Tesla for 8 months doing an internship there. So there was a lot of experience coming in from that. So we already had the base level knowledge. We were designing electric longboards and scooters in our spare time, driving them around Seawall. So all this stuff was going on. We had connections even in the local Vancouver space of other EV enthusiasts. So immediately we had the knowledge that we needed to start the company. And then when we pitched it to our mentors, it was almost as though they breathed a sigh of relief, because they saw what we didn't see, which was that this is the area that we're passionate about. There's a huge opportunity and that we're the team to do it. So then when I talk about the timing piece of it, it's that, like Mesh kind of alluded to this, that there were other Second Life companies before us that had tried to do this, but the timing wasn't there. There weren't batteries that were retiring from vehicles. It wasn't a big enough problem. But when we started, these batteries had already started to retire from vehicles. Automotive companies like Nissan and Mercedes, they had been collecting these batteries and they were trying to figure out what to do with them. They were sitting on shelves with no place to go. And with other OEMs, like some of the batteries were being sent to landfills and producing toxic waste. So with that opportunity being there, we realized like this is something that we can accomplish together, and that's where we really took off.
I just like hearing stories like this, even from the other people that I've interviewed throughout our journey on the podcast, it's such an inspiring thing to hear. And when you really see your niche and what you're meant to do, and look what happens, you know? So now, those of you who are watching this, we're in a different space because we're in the Moment Energy office today, actually. There is an incredible warehouse behind me. And I want to know, well, I already know because I've learned, but for those who are curious, what actually goes on inside the workings of Moment Energy?
That's where all the magic happens.
Yeah.
Engineers get to have fun back there. But basically that's where we have North America's first fully certified facility for repurposing Second Life energy storage systems, which is exciting. Basically what that means is we've gone through a full safety standard for being approved to repurpose these batteries and grade them. So a big part of that means that every battery that comes into our facility, we test and give a grade to, and we make sure that they still have a ton of life left and that they make sense to repurpose. And then those batteries pass into our manufacturing line. So we essentially assemble our products all in-house, which is really exciting. So for us, when we have our final product, we can very confidently say this was made in BC and made in Vancouver, which is super fun for us. And we're really happy to work with so many local manufacturers. But yeah, all of our engineers are prototyping, working on R&D work, testing, building, manufacturing, and doing a lot of great things out in the warehouse there.
A local business that's literally changing the world. And now I'm wondering, so once your product has been made and it's sent off to the world, who has access to these items, and how can people actually use the renewable energy sources that are being created by Moment?
We don't necessarily sell directly to consumer. We're generally selling to large businesses, etc. And batteries aren't necessarily renewable energy source. They just enable the adoption of renewable energy source. Because what's happening right now in California or any market with a lot of wind is the sun only shines for a particular portion of the day, and the wind only blows when it wants to. So what's happening is they're finding gaps throughout the day where the consumer demand for energy is not meeting the grid's ability to supply that energy. So we can use batteries to help fill that gap within those regions. So the applications we're primarily selling to are applications where there's either a utility, so BC Hydro or a local company would provide the individuals an incentive to install batteries, whether that's through their bill or through another program, or if there's an incentive to essentially accelerate the installation of a device or something where the battery can come into play. So oftentimes, our customers are, either reducing their diesel consumption off grid in a remote site by using our batteries in the similar way the batteries would be used in a hybrid car, or doing something called peak shaving, where you're reducing the maximum power or maximum energy you're using in a 15-minute interval to level it out throughout the day. So then you no longer need to essentially pay your bills based on what that amount is.
Incredible. So there's a really useful source here of acquiring these batteries and actually using them when for example, when you said the sun or the wind isn't blowing,
Exactly. Yeah.
there's another way for us to actually access this energy.
Yeah.
Great. So now we know what Moment is. And now we're going to go into this little area where I'm going to ask for some advice, because I'm here. I don't necessarily have my own business, but maybe some people are wanting to start their own company, but they don't know exactly where to start. And as a team of co-founders, someone might be wondering, how can I even find a co-founder? How can I find somebody who I'm going to match with, someone who has the similar interests as I do? What are the steps that I can do to actually make this happen?
I mean, I think what really helped was joining programs like the Entrepreneurship program at SFU, either taking the classes or the Chang Institute. I think I've found a lot of friends out there that have also asked the same thing. Like, it's very difficult to find other co-founders. Because the key characteristic that you need is somebody with founder mindset. So somebody who's actually willing to sacrifice pretty much everything just to be making $0 and working on a pipe dream. And many times maybe they're working at a company with a cushy job, and now you're going to tell them to go quit that and start some crazy idea that seems impossible, right? So that will take a whole different type of person altogether. So finding that characteristic is typically found in entrepreneurship programs, right? Either at universities or their local Vancouver ones, or Canadian and as well as American ones that are quite well known out there as well. And then secondly, though, even if you find somebody with that passion, you have to make sure that you do have like founder market fit, is typically what we were talking about. Yourself as well as that partner, you make sure that your skill sets actually fit within that market or that problem that you're trying to solve. And sometimes you won't find alignment, and maybe in those cases you guys wouldn't be the right co-founders. But then ideally is you will sooner or later. You don't settle. You keep going, keep meeting new people until you do find that founder market fit. I think for us, the core, characteristics of what we believe in the company is it's about the team. No matter what, be it either the co-founders or our employees or team members, if we build a solid team, then there's really no problem that we can't solve. Rather than coming up with a cool idea, if you have a really amazing idea but you have a weak team, it's going to be extremely hard, if not impossible, to execute on that.
So when you've now arrived in this place where you're co-founders and you've created Moment Energy and you have this idea, and now if I look out here, I'm going to see a team of 40 people that are working for you. How did this happen, and how did you manage to create this big expansion into having a full team of people who are basically running the company?
It was hard. Basically, we spend a lot of time hiring. We're very, I think, intentional with who we bring onto the team, because, like Eddie said, we want to bring in the right people who are motivated by the same vision that we have and want to contribute to this kind of space. But it all started with our lead engineer, who was our first full-time hire, and he was one of our engineering friends in school. We commonly say that he's the reason we got through engineering school, because he's so smart. But we basically begged him to come work with us and quit his job and join us, and he took a big risk and had to ask multiple times before he'd say yes. But then finally he said yes, and then we still have him here today, James Evans, and he's one of the smartest and nicest people on the team, so we love him here.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I think what kind of triggered why we then started hiring was like we worked on this idea for the first year, and then we ran into we were doing everything very sequentially rather than in parallel. All four of us were on calls talking to customers, trying to get the first customer, and then we land one customer, great. And then we're like, okay, now we all have to come and build, and we're all building together. And then we go deploy it, and it's like, awesome. And then we then sit there and say, oh wait, now we don't have a customer. And then now we have to go and start calling it. And once you're kind of in that pattern, and you're getting enough traction where the problem is actually just hiring, and it's very solvable through hiring, that's really what triggered our thought of, let's hire our first employee, which our first co-op was Brandon Hong from SFU as well. So he was our first business development hire. So that we,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then in that case, it was so that Gabe can then focus on the technicals and he didn't have to call anymore. And then we can start doing things more in parallel. And then, of course, like Gabe said, we then hired James as our first full-time, and then we started building in both teams in parallel.
And then when you were building these teams, you have to take into account their skill sets as well and how they're going to contribute to your team. And I think that there's one thing that's really important for everybody to remember is that you can't just go out and hire willy-nilly and find random people that say they're interested in the field. They have to actually show that they're capable of adding value. Now, I've got maybe 2 more questions to ask for you guys. And the big one is what everyone is wondering, what is next for Moment Energy?
Everything.
You're going to rule the world in about 5 minutes from what I've heard.
I mean, there's so many different areas of the company that we're trying to grow right now. So we just became, as Gabe was mentioning, the first UL certified facility for battery repurposing, which is huge.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you. So we're continuing to take that and essentially we want to onboard more automotive companies and make sure that they are repurposing their batteries, and that we're here to help them with that and to essentially build products around those batteries in-house. So that's one side of it. We're raising money. So that's one thing we didn't really talk about in this session yet, but it does take a lot of capital to grow a startup and to maintain a team of 40 employees. So today we've raised pre-seed funding, seed funding, and now we're raising our Series A. Eddie's taken the lead on that, doing a really great job talking to investors.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's coming up. We're continuously working on designing our next product, on scaling the team. So that funding that we're going to get from the Series A would mean growing the engineering side and our manufacturing capabilities. So we have this awesome facility here in Coquitlam, but we also want to expand into a larger manufacturing facility where we'll continue to scale and manufacture gigawatt hours worth of energy storage.
Wow.
So that's our goal. Our big, hairy, audacious goal, which people abbreviate as BHAG, is to enable all EV batteries to be repurposed by 2030. So we really want to facilitate that, to play a role in making sure none of these batteries end up in landfills or being prematurely recycled because they have so much energy left in them.
Now, when my car battery dies, let's just say, what can I do with it? I'll give it away to recycle my battery, but I don't know what's going to happen with it. Or is there a more sustainable way that I can recycle my car battery?
It's a good question. So in terms of what your options are, it depends on which automotive company or which car brand you have. So what we usually recommend to people is to call up their local car dealership and let them know, like, hey, I have this EV. I used to get 400 kilometers of range on a full charge. Now I don't. What are my options? So they'll tell you if it's within warranty. There's different options versus if it's out of warranty. But typically you would take it back to the dealership. They would do a little bit of an analysis on the battery pack and then tell you what your options are. So that's what would be recommended. In terms of getting it repurposed or recycled, that really ends up being up to the automaker or the dealership what their plans are. But what we recommend to automakers is, hey, if your batteries have enough juice in them, if they're above 80% state of health, for example, if they're safe to repurpose, please repurpose them. We want to make sure that we're not skipping a step in the circular economy plan.
And I think that's one thing that's really important that's coming out of Moment Energy is not even just electric vehicle batteries, but everything out there in the world. We live in an economy where not many things nowadays are just going to continue reproducing themselves. And we're going to run ourselves into this big climate crisis if we don't be responsible about the waste that we're producing and the amount that we're consuming. So when it comes to repurposing car batteries or even just recycling your paper when you finish reading the newspaper, for example, recycle it in its proper receptacles so that it can be repurposed for the future. And just this initiative here is a great example of how we can continue doing that and to ensure that energy and our resources can continue being useful for years to come. I thank you again for all of the hard work that you've done for that.
Thank you.
Of course. Where can our audience find Moment Energy for those who want to engage with you guys?
So you can find us on different platforms depending on what you're looking for. Moment at www.momentenergy.com is our domain name. If you're looking for opportunities to join the company, we have a careers page on there. We're constantly posting co-op positions. So usually like the university boards will have them up. And then in terms of if you want to see fun clips of us, we do have an Instagram channel. It's at Moment Energy. And then we have that, I think we have a LinkedIn, we have Twitter, but we don't really use Twitter. And I don't think it's called that anymore. So.
The change to slowly phasing away from Twitter.
We're boycotting Twitter.
Yeah. Otherwise, our office is based in Coquitlam. So for those of you who are local, you can always give us a call and see if there's an opportunity to visit us. But yeah, we'd love to see more, especially SFU students engaging with us.
Yeah.
We like to give back to the community.
Yes.
Always hiring.
Yeah.
Yes.
Always looking for
I find an emphasis on the hiring.
always.
You don't
Yeah.
say.
Help
But
us
yes.
make that 40 or 50, right?
Yeah. If you're interested in helping us enable all EV batteries to be repurposed by 2030,
Yeah.
shoot us a message or on LinkedIn. We're easily accessible via Venture Connection or otherwise. We'd love to chat.
Also,
Yes.
not to plug more on hiring, but
No, go for it. Go for it. This is your time to go.
awesome. Tons of different roles we have at the company. So I mean, actually, if each of us can kind of talk about that, like Grimesh business development side, what do you look for?
Yeah, we're looking for people who have. In business development, we're looking for people who who are able to talk to people, able to communicate. And I think one thing we look for across all roles, we're looking for good people.
Mm-hmm.
A bad person with good skills is not going to build a good company. So I think obviously for more senior roles, we're looking for people with industry specific experience, but for our junior roles or people looking to change industries, we're just looking for someone who's able to communicate, kind of get a point across. And oftentimes we're selling to technical people, but not also non-technical people. And so someone who can communicate with engineers, but can also communicate with a 5-year-old on what we do as well.
Yeah. So really the reason I put you on the spot is just to show that even though we're a clean tech company or an engineering company, there's a lot of non-engineering roles that we have. So we have a marketing team, we have designers, we actually love CET students. They've come in. The person who designed our logo is from CET, so they've done a lot of incredible work. So really across the board of the team, we have marketers, we have business development, team members, we have engineers, we have technicians. There's so many different roles to fill.
I think we aim to hire at least 15 co-ops per semester.
Yeah.
15.
Yeah.
Wow. and they how do the co-ops contribute to the community here at Moment?
We usually treat our co-ops basically like full-time employees.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Sabrine said, our past designer co-ops designed our whole logo and our brand strategy.
Yeah.
Our engineering co-ops
Mhm.
work on the design of the product itself, and so we give them full reign and a lot of responsibility here.
So if you're looking for a co-op job, are valued, check out Moment Energy. It sounds like you guys have done some great work and continue to do that, and I'm really excited to see where it's going to take you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
of
you.
course,
Thanks for the
of course. Yeah, and thank you for coming in for this interview today, or for
Thank
allowing
you for
me
coming.
for the interview and setting up the time, because I know exactly how busy you are, and even as I mentioned at the beginning, it was a beautiful, beautiful gift to have all four of you have the time in your schedule for this. So thank you very, very much. Of course, of course. And for those of you who are listening, I thank you for listening to this episode of the Inspiration Station podcast, which is brought to you by the Charles Chang Institute for Entrepreneurship at Simon Fraser University. If you are interested in joining the Venture Connection Incubator at any time, check out our website. We've got so many wonderful resources available to you. And for those of you who are listening on streaming services such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we have a video recording of us having these conversations as well throughout the entire 2 seasons of the Inspiration Station podcast for you to go back and listen to at any time. And without further ado, that is all I have for today's episode. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you very, very soon. Bye.